Hello and welcome back to the Final Straight F1 podcast with Ben and Tonda.
And today we're looking at the story of the 2024 British Grand Prix. An amazing one at that.
Yeah, and it is absolutely amazing. This season, it's just been giving. We have right now 6 different winners over 12 races, which,
That's crazy.
we didn't get it for, I think the last time we got this many winners was probably in 2012, I think. So, incredible.
I wasn't gonna say it, but when I saw the statistic of 6 winners in 12 races, I immediately thought of 2012 because you had how many? A lot of 6 winners in the first 6 races or something crazy like that. But yeah, we haven't seen a season this good, and we've talked about this, nobody expected this at the start of the season with the preseason testing. Red Bull dominated, right? And we all thought, okay, it's gonna look like 2022 and 2023. Max is just gonna run away with it. It's gonna be the champion by Japan or whatever, or somewhere by right after the half of the season he'll be the champion. Nobody can say anything. That's not to say that he's gonna lose the championship. Of course, a lot of bad things would have to happen to the Red Bull team for Max to lose. But in terms of entertainment and racing, we have, and this just this triple header. I mean, of course, as a Ferrari fan, I have been in very, very deep pain over the last few weeks, the last 3 weeks to be precise. As I saw a statistic, Charles Leclerc scored less points over the last 3 races than Nico Hülkenberg, which is both a testament to how Haas and Hülkenberg have been doing great, and also how Ferrari and Leclerc have been doing so shit. But more on that later. Lewis Hamilton won his home Grand Prix. The first race win since 2021. How did you live through that? I know you're a Lewis fan, so tell me.
I mean, as a Lewis fan since 2007, to be precise, it's, as you say, it's been 945 days, to be exact, I believe, since his last win, which was, by the way, in Jeddah in 2021 against Max Verstappen, which was a crazy Grand Prix, right? And, after the heartbreak that was, for Lewis Hamilton and his fans, and perhaps many people, what happened in Abu Dhabi 2021, he has just been, it's been very different than probably a lot of people expected. He had a winless season for the first time in his career in 2022. He followed with another one in 2023, and it looked like at the beginning of the season that, Mercedes is getting just farther and farther away, right? So, and this win, I feel like it was absolutely brilliant. I think this is a silencer to many of, Hamilton's haters and to many people saying he's washed. He's not. I think he proved again what he's capable of if he gets the right car. If he, he just showed that he's still got it. And another thing, right? The emotions, it was something we have probably never seen. The only time that Hamilton was very, very emotional I can recall was in 2020 in Turkey when he won his 7th championship, right?
Yeah.
But this time you could just feel the relief. You could just feel, as Ricardo would call it, the redemption, right? And I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like it is something he needed. It's something that many people wanted to see. He broke a record again. He won for the 9th time at Silverstone, which is the most any driver has won at any track. So that's pretty incredible as well. And it was not an easy race. It was a very eventful race, and I think we can just, if we just started at the qualifying, right? It was super difficult conditions. It was pretty much, inters to dries, and the end was dry, but it was there were many transition periods, and right when we just backtrack a little bit, we will still talk about the main race and all the events that happened, but we had someone, of course, in practice, just to make sure we address this, we had a few junior drivers driving for, I think it was Duhan for Alpine.
Yeah.
It was, I can't recall his name right now, but he was driving for the Red Bull. Can't remember. But yeah, also, by the way,
Not sure. Right?
talking about Red Bull, next week, your brother will be racing for the filming day, Liam Lawson.
Yeah.
And the cameraman wasn't really going safe this race. He was all between Ricardo, Perez, and Lawson all the time. And because we again saw Sergio Perez not making it to Q2 because he beached his car into the gravel when he was on the soft tires.
That was something. I mean, I don't even know if there's something to say to add to that. We've talked about this in the last 4 episodes or something. This has been a common occurrence. Of course, Checo has been saying that he's expecting some improvements with the new floor that Max had at Silverstone, but we will see how that pans out. But you also mentioned filming day, and just a side note for a bit, the trailer for the F1 movie dropped. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, it was the teaser for the Apex.
It was the teaser.
Yeah, for Formula 1. Yeah.
And the movie is just called F1.
Yeah. Original.
Already very original. And I'm very curious to see what the movie will actually look like, because it's, of course, it's the first F1 movie, as far as I'm aware, that actually has the real drivers and kind of pretends that it's the team is just competing with all the other,
except for the Rush, probably, right, with Lauda and Hunt. Yeah.
But in the sense of they're actually filming, you could see
True.
Max Verstappen in the trailer.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And I'm just curious to see. And they've had a fake Twitter profile where they've been commenting on the results of the team. Stuff like, oh yeah, we double DNF for our team said, and they've been doing this for like a year.
Wow, I haven't noticed. That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's
pretty
funny.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
They're fake posts from Sonny Hayes, the correct character that Brad Pitt is playing, on Instagram as well. Like on to Australia or whatever. Like the drivers usually post, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting how realistic.
It's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing for Formula 1. It's also a movie that is an Apple original, and from what I know, it's an Apple movie. I mean, it's a movie with Apple's biggest budget. Is the biggest budget that Apple has committed to, for a movie. So I feel like when I was seeing I mean, it wasn't a full blown trailer, right? It was a teaser, but the quality was amazing, right? Like, we as hardcore F1 fans, I think I'm afraid it could have a similar vibe to Drive to Survive to an extent, because many things won't probably be accurate. First things first, the car they're actually driving is a modified F2 car, helped by Mercedes. So, yeah, we will. I mean, of course, also one little concerning thing was, when Brad Pitt, Sonny Hayes was saying, well, Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull have a very fast car on the straight, so let's make a car that is quick in the corners. I mean, it's
of course they will. It'll be very simplified, and then the technical director says, "Oh yeah, but it's not gonna be safe," and he's like, "Oh yeah, we don't need safe. Oh yeah, but there are safety regulations. Like the FIA is gonna be all up your ass if you don't." No, but the racing, like the racing looked very good.
Yeah, they actually used like footage from someone pointed out it was Gasly from like 2022 or someone, an Alpine from Spa. Like you could see the actual onboard. So it's like, okay, let's be clear. I think this is gonna be amazing for Formula 1. It's gonna bring out so many new fans. It's gonna bring a new light to Formula 1, right? Like it's gonna. I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. Only 1 year, so we'll see about that. And hopefully, Sergio Perez will watch from his F1 seat and not from the sidelines.
Because again, we've had rumors that he could be replaced by Daniel Ricciardo in 2025 or even sooner. And one has to wonder, what is Yuki Tsunoda doing wrong? That he's not even being considered for the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I agree. I think that many people have spoken that it could even happen in summer after the break, the switch, because apparently there is a clause in Perez's contract that he shouldn't, at any point of the season, he shouldn't be over 100 points behind Verstappen in the championship and or 5 places below him in the championship. Right now, he is both over 100 points behind, and he's, I think, 5 places below Verstappen. It's only a matter of time until I think Russell and Hamilton are only 6 and 7 points away.
Yeah, it would have been, if Russell wouldn't have DNF'd, he would have been in front of Checo.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So, in a Red Bull, it's a shame we're having to get this conversation going again, right? Because I was looking into the results of the season, right? To Perez's results, like recently, probably yesterday, and it's terrible. I think like for the past 5 or 6 races, he hasn't placed better than 7th in the race, which in a Red Bull it's unacceptable.
Well, but again, it really shows how good of a driver Max Verstappen is, because clearly we saw that the Red Bull might not be is not the quickest car on the grid anymore. We saw that now over the last few weeks, and especially in Silverstone, I feel like that the McLaren's speed is really something, especially in the first stint. He was just letting those cars by. I mean, we'll talk about qualifying still, but just the way he let Lando pass after the very dramatic fighting in Austria last week.
Yeah.
He was
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think at this moment we have so equal field that, I still think the main, if we go track by track, if we don't look at specific tracks like Silverstone, I think it's still McLaren versus Red Bull. And maybe Ferrari if they get their act together, but more on them later. But yeah, it looked like it's very dependent on which conditions it is on track. Because of the McLaren, even in the qualifying, right? You had the McLarens being pretty much the quickest in the changeable conditions. It looked like the McLaren could fire up its tires super well, which was something that perhaps Red Bull is not the best at. And we also had an incident of Verstappen going into the gravel, which is an unusual sight because he's usually so comfortable with the car.
He did have damage.
Yeah, and the damage is, after the session, it was estimated. Some people said it was about 3/10 a lap. I've heard as far as a second a lap, but, it's difficult to judge. I don't know what your thought is on the damage, but floor is pretty substantial, mainly for Red Bull, which has a very complex floor made by the king himself, Adrian Newey. But we then had Leclerc exiting the Q2.
Like, it's just so painful. Okay, Leclerc, he was doing so well at the start of the season. He was in the top 4 until Monaco, where he won. And ever since then, I don't know if the guy sold his soul to the devil for a win at Monaco, and in return the rest of the season would be ruined for him, but he's just getting a beating. And of course, some of it is his fault. He didn't make a mistake at this last flying lap in the qualifying at Austria. But he's had bad luck as well, and bad strategy. Like everything that we've thought that Ferrari solved at the start of, we were complimenting them. We were saying, oh, it looks like under Fred, it's a well-oiled machine, and that is why it's working now. That's the biggest difference. But it just feels like 2022 all over again.
Yeah.
It's not even raining. Well, it is raining, but it's light rain, and they put him on inters because they tell him that it's heavy rain. Then he has to pit for inters again. He's been lapped like 3 times in the last 4 races. It's just incredible.
Yeah. And I'm surprised they didn't learn from Canada as well, because in Canada, right, the same thing.
Yeah, it was the same thing, but it was reversed.
It was the opposite.
It was going on dries, on the hards. while it was still wet and he had to pit again. He's been. It's like he's doing extra pit stop training for the crew, but just during the race. And he had a very good start as well, because he started 11th after, unfortunately getting out in Q2. But he made up three places. Then he was running in 7th. He overtook Nico Hulkenberg, but then he just decided, I'll just pit for Inters very soon. And we thought, for a second, it looked like, the rain might come sooner than expected, so it might be all good. But no, he just his race was over just like that. Of course, Sainz getting P5 is still a decent result, but if Ferrari wants to, stay second in the constructors, then and with McLaren doing so good, then they really have to figure out what's going on over this 2-week break and bring out something in Hungary to help these suffering drivers.
Yeah, something needs to change again, and I think that I'm not sure if it was only in practice or also in the quality and the race, but in practice at least, the two drivers, Sainz and Leclerc, they ran different specifications of the Ferrari car, right? Leclerc was running the updated one, and Sainz was running the version from Imola, I believe, right? I think it was already the SF24 Evo, but the initial model, right?
Yeah.
And it seemed like over one lap, the newer spec was, on pure pace, it probably was quicker, but it was such a nightmare to drive. You could see, Leclerc was just struggling so much with the car. He was losing the car so much. So it seemed like, again, they have a little bit Mercedes 2022 issue of correlation, that...
Yeah, it's
a shame.
It's almost like Aston Martin with the upgrades just bring them down. Of course, that not exactly. It's just they can't keep up with the upgrades of the other top teams, but still, it's almost as if they traded the testing facilities with Mercedes. And the broken wind tunnel that this Aston use are Ferrari hopped in there as well. But
and also their chassis director or designer left, right? Their technical designer. So
Ardila, he's leaving for Aston, I think.
Hopefully he will screw up there and not in the Ferrari.
Some might hope that it's a sign of Adrian Newey.
Is this the sign of Adrian Newey coming?
But also, Adrian Newey has also been spotted at McLaren's facility, so you just have to wait for the guy to make an announcement. But
there's too many rumors about this, I feel.
And I remember as well after Monaco, it looked like, the Ferrari Leclerc is bringing the fight to Verstappen. 31-point difference in the Drivers' Championship. 24 or not that many in the constructors, but now here we are.
Fell back.
Everything has changed. Everything has changed.
Things change, and let that sink in, because Nico Hulkenberg's Haas, who, has brought significant upgrades, which seem to have worked quite a bit. And as a result, Nico Hulkenberg's Haas was the highest place Ferrari-powered car on the grid, which was P6. He qualified ahead of Sainz. So, that's tough.
Well, no, but it's really, they're cracking again. They just need to, Fred Vasseur needs to do something, throw a big pasta dinner party for the team to increase the spirit. But talking about teams, making back strategy calls, which so far has been the specialty of one Italian team, we saw a fumble, so to speak, from the British orange McLaren.
Yeah.
Which might have cost them the race win, most likely. Also destroyed Piastri's race in a way. Destroyed my prediction of a Piastri win.
Yeah.
I should have gone for Hamilton. I knew it.
You should have.
But what did you think? The strategy, what was going on there?
Yeah, as you said, McLaren they have had a lot of expectation. It was expected they would be quick around Silverstone. They were setting purple times into the whole qualifying until the end, where Lando put it only on P3 and the Mercedes locked out the front row with Russell on pole. Brilliant laps. I mean, outqualified Hamilton by almost 2/10. He has done an amazing job. Verstappen only in, what was it, P4?
P4.
And then Piastri P5. So, but we still expected, McLaren to be really strong in the race trim because they usually are. Recently they have been, I'm not saying they have been the dominant car by any means, but they have been at least on par, if not faster than the Red Bull in the race, situations. And mainly their degradation was amazing. And we had the race start. We had Lando leaving the door open to Verstappen because he wanted to attack Hamilton in a little bit of a silly way. He just was keeping his nose in. My view was that he didn't
on the
have
outside,
to.
But
yeah, it was, he knew that the corner was already done. And Verstappen just, took the advantage and went around the outside and he just overtook him. But yeah, later, I mean, both McLarens later overtook Verstappen, as you said. And it looked like, the degradation, they were quick. And then in the changeable conditions, we had the amazing fight where Hamilton, he was even saying that his plan was to go a lot longer than George was. And so he just was keeping, 1.6 to 2 seconds behind of him. So, and then when you were seeing spots of rain and you knew that this is Hamilton's time. And you also felt like this was McLaren's time because they're amazing. Their car works in a great way in these conditions. And you had Hamilton overtaking, Russell. You just could see. And then they both went off. And then the McLarens just took the lead, right? They were 1-2 in the changeable conditions. And one must be thinking,
Piastri,
that's it,
Piastri
right?
on the wet. Piastri in the wet was amazing.
He was even closing in on Lando.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was gonna.
Yeah,
and that was if he would have probably been, he had a chance, he had a shot at winning the race, because if he would have been ahead of Lando, then he would have been the one going to the pits probably, because they didn't double stack. And that was the first mistake, right? Like they didn't double stack their drivers. When in these conditions you lose so much more when you don't, right? Because Mercedes double stacked, despite, Hamilton being only like 1 second ahead of Russell. You had Verstappen putting a good call, and like Norris went in, and okay, we all knew that Piastri is destined to be left behind, but it was kind of useless. I mean, I get that they tried to split the strategy, but at that point, it just looked like nonsense, right? Like, first of all, also Leclerc being stuck on the inters for so long, he already burned them off, so he had to change and pit again. So that was another thing that was a blunder. But yeah, then we had the inters where, the gaps were relatively stable. And except for Verstappen, who, was destroying, I think he pitted 1 lap earlier than everyone, which was a good decision, it seemed at the time. But then his tire deg on the front left, it was graining so much because it wasn't raining enough. Oh yeah, it was visible on the broadcast. You could see the bits of rubber
tearing apart,
hanging on.
Yeah. And it seemed like the McLaren had the edge, right? Like, because Lando had a fairly steady gap to Hamilton. Hamilton was catching, but not like, I don't know, half a second a lap. He was slowly 10th by 10th. He was eking into his gap. And I mean, still, the McLaren seems pretty good on downforce, so it seemed pretty good. And also on the tire deck, so they were fairly doing well. But then we had the crucial moment. Also, Russell unfortunately retired.
Yeah, because of a water system problem.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but I still believe that at that time, he was not likely to win, but he was still fairly, I think, destined to go to the podium if he was to overtake Verstappen, because Verstappen undercut Russell because he went 1 lap earlier and they were very close to each other. And then Sainz was going nuts. He was catching Verstappen. In the wet, the car seemed it came alive for Ferrari. But then again, when you could see the different phases of the race, because we had a few times where it started raining and it stopped raining, and whenever it stopped raining, the Ferrari just disappeared, and then it came back. It was crazy.
Well, we need wet races, but we have to. It has to be wet the whole time. If it starts raining in the middle of it, we pit too early, and it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think also we need to say and mention that this race, like, usually it's very bad when it's a race from the wet to dries, right? Because you usually don't have you just have a dry line, one dry line, and that's it. Like, you can't overtake. But
yeah, it's almost like all tracks turn into Monaco. You can't really do anything.
Exactly. And it seemed like the sun came out and everything, the whole track just dried up, and the racing was on. And then there was a crucial part where McLaren have lost the race, or at least the lead. And it was the period where the tires were changed from inters to softs or to... Well, first of all, that's also another thing, right? We had the engineer of Lando saying, we are the only ones who have the medium tire available compared to Mercedes and also Red Bull. Which you might expect that they would put it on, because, you know, I mean, if you go same tire, you're gonna have a problem in the end, and because we know the softs, they don't last much, you know, they don't last long.
It was like 20 laps almost, right?
I think it was like 14, 15 laps, which, you know, it's still like kind of because Silverstone is a long track, it's almost the distance of a sprint.
Yeah.
So one must think, okay, they're putting mediums on because they're similar pace and they last much longer. The deck is much better, right? But then they went onto the scrub soft tires. So scrub soft tires are actually even used soft tires, and they had fresh mediums, which was surprising.
I didn't even know that they were the scrub ones. I thought they were at least new, but
yeah, both Hamilton and Norris used scrub set of soft tires. And we then had Max Verstappen coming in for hard tires, which, you know, for me in the moment I was confused because I was thinking, okay, that's probably not the best thing, but it turned out to be an amazing decision for them because
it was.
Because it again showed the quality of Verstappen, right? Like he disappeared and then he just came back.
He was flying. It almost looked like he was gonna catch Hamilton. With the pace that he was going at. Of course, he overtook Norris, and it was just strange seeing, because the strategy calls weren't the greatest the whole race for McLaren. First, they didn't double stack, and then they had like 3 choices of a tire, and they just went with they asked Lando on the radio, I think, oh yeah, we can either go for the hard to cover Max or for the soft to cover Hamilton.
Yeah.
And it really seems like if Lando doesn't have the best track record when it comes to choosing tire compounds, let's just say, remember Sochi 2021?
Yeah.
He's not, not to diminish his strategic thinking, but of course he's very talented. He's a very talented driver. But
it's experience that will come. But the most, I think, the tire compound, okay, it was one thing, but the most pivotal thing that they missed was the pit window. They boxed 1 lap too late. And also he overshot the box, the pit lane.
He overshot. There was a long stop.
Yeah.
And then also Hamilton, he really made the most out of those soft tires at the end. Yeah.
He was very consistent.
Like he made them last.
Yeah.
Way longer than I thought. I thought that Max would at least like close in. Maybe he would get into the DRS zone within few laps, or maybe he would get there at the very last second. But I still thought that Hamilton was going to win, but he kept the gap pretty consistently. So really, of course, he loves Silverstone. He's won there 9 times now. You have to repeat that because very impressive. And I saw a statistic that 5 times it happened that Hamilton's teammate lined up on the pole position, and Hamilton was second, and he won all of those times.
Really?
So he just,
So wow. So when his teammate, and you mean Silverstone, right? If he,
Yeah.
that's
at Silverstone.
That's insane. I think Bottas outqualified him.
Yeah,
for sure.
Probably Rosberg is probably somewhere in the mix.
Rosberg for sure. Wow, maybe Button, but no, Button not, because he never won. He won in 2008, and then he won in 14, 15, 16, 17, then 19, 20, 21, and then right now, which, I mean, the Mercedes, let's not, I think still Mercedes was very surprisingly quick. Like, Mercedes has made insane gains because, I was thinking, okay, well, they're not going to pull away. That was my initial thought, that they're going to be attacked at every single opportunity by the McLaren and maybe even the Red Bull, because Max's floor has been replaced. So I expected, still Red Bull to be probably the quickest in the hands of Max Verstappen at least. But Mercedes actually pulled a gap on the medium tires, which, to me, that was very surprising.
Yeah, they really are progressing in the right direction. Sure, Toto Wolff is very happy about it. So we couldn't hear any Darth. I don't think we heard any Darth Toto on the radio.
Maybe towards the end, after the race, he said something.
Very funny. Also last week in Austria.
Oh my god!
When he said, "You can win this, George." And George was like, "Shut the fuck up!" I know. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Lewis's radio also saying, "Yeah, leave me to it. Leave me to it."
Yeah. I think it left a very few eyes dry because
it was very emotional.
It was very emotional from, like, this man has had 103 wins prior to this one, and it looked like it was his first win in 20 years. And I mean, for sure it did feel like it, and he himself admitted that this was probably a piece to get him over what happened in 2021 and to prove to himself once again that, he has what it takes, even though he's 39. And right now, I think he has the longest gap between first and last career win to date.
So, which unless Fernando Alonso...
he could, but probably not this year.
Well, unless Aston Martin pulls something out like they did at the start of last year.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Monaco 2023 still has to sting for Alonso. It was an opportunity thrown away, but nope.
Exactly. But it was an amazing race.
Win with Mercedes, at his home race, and it's been quite an emotional season in terms of home race wins. We had Charles Leclerc at Monaco. We had Lewis Hamilton after 2 years at Silverstone.
We had Lando Norris's first win.
So
we had so many
George
good
Russell's
wins.
Second win.
Yeah. We had so many good wins. Like, it would happen from time to time. Maybe 2021, it was Perez, Hamilton, or Verstappen. Once it was Ricciardo, which was probably the most emotional one of that year, except when you discount probably Abu Dhabi or some race like this. But, we had two drivers switching for the races, for the race wins. And right now we've got like very special wins. We've had Carlos Sainz after his appendix removal. We had Lando Norris's first win. Leclerc finally breaking the Monaco curse, and Hamilton showing an absolutely amazing race at his home Grand Prix with his family and everyone, and the last one with Mercedes.
Yeah, I mean, Piastri's left out of the top teams, which I made a prediction about. We'll talk about it later as well. But it would be... No, this feels like a season where we could see one of the other... maybe we could have a midfielder win as well. Don't forget what happened in Hungary 2021. Esteban Ocon had a victory there because of some crazy bowling shenanigans.
Bottas the bowler.
Yeah. But but I've seen some people pointing out, and wondering whether Lewis Hamilton is starting to regret his move to Ferrari now.
Yeah.
After seeing the state of things at
Lapping
the moment,
his future teammate.
Lapping his future teammate. And, yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how he fares in red, how Ferrari can pull out for the rest of the season and next season. But Logan Sargent, to change the topic, Logan Sargent had his second best career finish in 11th place. I think it was.
Yeah, he was 20 odd seconds behind Albon, who finished on points. Williams was P9.
Williams were doing, better than kind of went under the radar, but they qualified. Yeah. Albon qualified quite well within the points. Of course, had the contact at the start.
That was very unfortunate. Yeah,
it was quite sad. But then this puts Logan Sargent 20th in the standings. He moves up from 21st, and now do you know who's 21st? Have you seen it, or do you want to make a
21st?
21st in our 20-car championship.
Could it be Bottas?
It is Bottas.
Because Sauber has Bottas not scored any points this season.
Is 20th, is 21st as of now, and it's just
poor guy.
I'm not sure if either of them. I don't think they're keeping either of them, honestly, for the next season. But we know that Nico Hülkenberg is joining the team.
Exactly.
Because he's going to be a part of the Audi family. But
Ollie Behrman is joining Haas.
Ollie Behrman has been finally confirmed. It's been rumored for a few weeks now. And apparently there are also some talks about the second Alpine seat. That's potentially Mick Schumacher.
Oh, because they had a test, right? With Doohan and Schumacher.
Doohan and Schumacher.
But I've heard rumors that also Sainz could go to Alpine because Flavio Briatore joined.
What has been going on with Sainz and his contract, though? It really kind of feels like he's really taking his time, and I'm just wondering whether it's taking too much. The doors might start to close. I understand that he wants to make the best choice. It's never easy going from a top team to midfield or a back marker. Of course. There are also a lot of other drivers probably waiting in line because the bigger the teams are waiting. Williams is probably thinking, is Sainz going? Okay, or is Sainz joining, or is he joining Alpine, joining Kick Sauber?
Who would you join if you would be just? Let's pretend you're Carlos Sainz and you know only the information that we know, right? What would you say is the most? I'm not gonna say logical, but what would you just do if you were in his skin, and why?
It's a very, very tough question. Well,
probably why Sainz is taking so long.
Probably,
as well.
If it was obvious, they would probably do it sooner. Well, of course, the Mercedes seat would be the best choice, but Kimi Antonelli is probably on the way to go there with some new rules for the super license.
He just won his maiden F2 win.
Oh, really?
He just won his first race in F2 in Silverstone in the wet.
Yeah, but you have Audi, right? You Kick Sauber, where you would partner with Nico Hülkenberg, and they are doing very bad. So you would have to have a lot of faith.
They were already teammates, actually, in Renault.
That is true. You would have to have a lot of faith in the team, in Audi, and in them bringing a strong car for 2026. But it would mean that for 2025, you're most certainly going to be fighting for P18.
Yeah, whichever team he decides to join, except if there has been many talks also that Antonelli could also replace Sargent after the summer break to Williams. And then maybe, if he would stay there for another season and Sainz could decide to go to Mercedes for that one season. But but
because then you have Williams, who it seems like James Wallace is turning it into, it looked like that for a bit, that they're on an upward trajectory, but that upward trajectory has been this long time coming. Like we don't see that many results. Of course, they score points now, but Silverstone is usually pretty good for them. Of course, Monza is still there, but we haven't seen the progress that we might have expected after last year, for example, after all the promises. And then you have Alpine, which were terrible at the start of the year. They've been dead last. It looks like they're making some progress, but it feels like, from an outside point of view, that with Alpine you get probably the faster car, but a more volatile environment. Team principles. There's always someone getting fired. And at Williams, it seemed like the atmosphere, like everybody's just trying to work, all the data, but they're just very poor. So it's a tough question.
Do you lean in towards one option more, or
I would
flipping a coin?
Maybe flipping a coin, but maybe I would trust James Vowles and try the Williams seat. I hope for the best. I don't know, but also you would have to learn French for Alpine, I guess. But would you go with Alpine instead?
I think there also has been talks about Alpine actually leaving their engine manufacturing.
Oh, they're showing
that they would actually
getting Mercedes
power units for 2026.
Yeah, that might be a factor.
And you never know. I mean, if you look at, you have two sides of the coin. Of course, in the early days of the turbo hybrid era in 2014, 2016, Mercedes has had an immense gap when it came to the engine. They had it so right, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have to repeat, and the only person who could kind of tell us about the future Mercedes engine is Lewis Hamilton, who is actually leaving, even though knowing the progress, right? So, just because of this, I mean, yeah, to me personally, even though it sucks so much, you have to sacrifice the next season, because Williams, Alpine, Sauber, wherever you go, you're not going to fight for anything except for points, which is a downgrade for, someone who has won a race
this year
on pure pace this year. And personally, I would probably stick with, Sauber/Audi, because it's a promising project. Also, I think that, Carlos Sainz's father, he used to race for Audi. And he had a pretty successful partnership, I believe, with them in the rally world. But I've heard also some rumors that they had a fight and they kind of went out on not the best terms. So I don't know, but I would still probably choose Audi, because Williams, even though it's on the leadership of Vowles, you still have the Mercedes engine, which I don't know. I would talk to Lewis. And then I would probably make my decision.
Lewis, you're replacing me. I got fired because you're kind of joining. But well, what about that engine? Have you seen the valves, the pipes, the piston, whatever?
Yeah, the only person who knows about two power units of Ferrari and Mercedes is probably Hamilton. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You can only predict what is going to happen.
Exactly.
And talking about predict, my prediction streak of being very successful and being almost an oracle of fortune teller has come to an end with picking Piastri and betting on McLaren's strategy team to not throw him under the bus, which they sadly did. So my prediction of Oscar Piastri having his maiden win at the Silverstone circuit did not come true. But what about your prediction?
My prediction, and I went kind of safe with the prediction, and to be honest, I predicted the whole podium. I have predicted that Hamilton will be on the podium and that he is going to pull out something special, because he always turns and flips to another gear when it comes to Silverstone. And I'm going to have to say I was more than right, because I don't know, this is the performance which is going to stick into our heads for a long time, because not only the way which the race panned out, many leader changes, everything, the changeable conditions, the tire management he had to do. He overtook his own teammate, who we know is a fast driver, but he overtook him on pure pace. Yeah, I predicted it well, and I actually said it's going to be Verstappen, Norris, and Hamilton on the podium.
Do you know, props to you. Props to you. I have to, hats off. I should have gone with Hamilton winning as well.
You should have, but yeah.
Hungary is next. The Hungaro Ring, the Monaco of the East, so to speak. Or whatever, but what do you think is going to happen at the Hungarian Grand Prix?
My prediction is gonna warm your heart, because I think that Ferrari is gonna be back, and they're gonna be back on the podium. I feel like their weakness at the moment lies in the fast turns, in the high speed, and Hungary doesn't have as many very high speed corners. It has more technical corners, and I feel like that's where the SF24 Evo will probably come more alive. And triple header, no break to review. Now they will have 1 week to get their stuff together, get their act together. And I believe they're going to be strong in Hungary, and I predict them to be at least one car on the podium, at least. What about you?
I was thinking about going with Ferrari, picking up the pieces and rising from this sad triple header. But Hungary is where I felt my first Ferrari heartbreak in person 2 years ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was there in person, and I saw them put the hards on.
Oh God.
I saw Max Verstappen spin on track and still come for victory.
Oh God.
That was the start of the end. So the end, because after that, Max Verstappen won all the races, I think, or with giant gaps.
Some things never change.
14th. So I'm a bit traumatized when it comes to Hungary. But I will. In Austria, we saw the Alpines fight once again. So a fight between Russell and Hamilton, right here. Almost Piastri and Norris. And I think that this trend of teammate battles will continue. Oh yeah, also Ferrari. We saw a Ferrari fight a few races ago. And I'm going to say that we will see a collision between two teammates in Hungary. And with maybe go as far, say that it will cause damage. They will collide and it will cause damage.
Okay.
Change it up a bit in terms of what we were predicting.
All right, and in the race, yeah?
In the race,
all right. Yeah. That's an interesting one. And, collisions between teammates, I think that's a bold prediction because it doesn't happen as often these days. Battles happen, but collisions usually don't. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. And hopefully it will not be Ferrari for you, right? So that would be a double-edged sword for you right there.
That would be a double-edged sword. But if they end up on the podium for it and your prediction comes true, then...
So damage and a 1-2. That would be insane. But
that would...
Hopefully not.
But we also have to talk about the driver of the weekend of the certified Final Straight F1 podcast, driver of the weekend. And I have to say Lewis Hamilton this weekend. I don't know. I think we have to.
I am 100% gonna agree. Like, he didn't put a foot wrong in the race, except where he went off because they didn't have the grip. But he managed the stint
and Russell
insanely.
Just followed him.
Yeah, Russell couldn't get him back. He was behind. Hamilton did it on purpose. He thought about it. He thinks in the race a lot. He's very smart when it comes to the racecraft. He put himself ahead of Russell meanwhile in the rain, like on purpose. He wanted to be the one who could make the call to be the first to go on the inters. Yeah. So he has put himself in the position where he could win the race. He didn't have to, and he did everything the right way. He managed the soft tires. He was very consistent with his stints.
Yeah.
Even though he probably wasn't his car wasn't the quickest on pure pace on the softs specifically, because we saw Norris, being quicker at the early stages, but then he fell off, and Verstappen just going so quick in the latter stages. But yeah, I mean, it's Lewis Hamilton, no doubt about it for me.
He proved why he is one of the greatest. But from the bottom, teams, I would say my boy Logan making it out of the trenches.
OMG.
Of 21st. And, getting into P11 with that thing.
That's interesting, because he was 20 seconds behind his teammate in the race.
But he still he's... By the way, just a very small side note. Every time that he comes on radio, it's such a whiplash, because you see American English, and you're used to like the accent and then the British English, but suddenly he's like, retire the car or whatever. Like, they're faster. He's probably not saying retire the car, but whatever.
Not this time.
Not this time.
But for me, I'm going to have to disagree with you, and I'm going to say with the bottom field right now, it was Nico Hülkenberg. He finished P6. He finished pretty much where he qualified.
I did not think of him.
He did an amazing job,
I forgot. He was there in P6 with the Haas, and he deserves it. But
I mean, it is what it is, and
and the rating for the race.
Well, for me,
one of the
it has to be a 10 out of 10 this time.
A 10 out of 10.
I don't know what would have to change, because we had the strategy calls. We had different people leading, even on pure pace. We had
different
teammate battles,
different strategies,
changeable conditions that didn't ruin the racing. We had different dry lines. We had Verstappen waking up from the dead from like P5. I don't know. What would you rate it?
I was definitely highly. I'm thinking 9.5. I'll go for a 10 as well.
Yeah.
Let's call this the first 10 out of 10 race of the season.
Final straight F1 podcast certified race.
Certified banger of a race.
A must watch for anyone who hasn't watched the whole race. Watch it from start to finish. I mean, I think it was just something about it where you just didn't know who's going to win from start to finish, because even until the latter laps, till like lap when, because when Verstappen got through Norris, you were thinking, right, well, is he just going to catch Hamilton right now, right? And I might be a little bit biased because of the result, but even if probably anyone else won, I would still say it was a 10 out of 10, because we just had...
Well,
it just had everything.
We have determined that emotional value plays a role in these ratings.
You gave 10 out of 10 to Monaco. Yeah.
Yes, I did. Oh, yeah, true, I did. But that was the 10,
Yeah.
Well, let's just hope that this trend is kept up, and we see great racing in the future races. Hungaroring, well, the overtaking there isn't the easiest, but also not bad. And we have the final few races between the summer break.
Yeah, we have got Hungary, and Spa is actually for the first time before the summer break,
Spa
right?
is moved, and that will be a great race, I hope, and I think as well. But we will have to wait and see.
Yeah, and we will have to see. And Mercedes actually brings upgrades for both of the next two races. So hopefully, maybe we can fulfill our dream of a 3-team battle.
This is how Lewis Hamilton can still win the title.
Or 4-team battle. Oh, yeah, well. that would
title. Win every...
Okay, well, we have to do a dare.
I didn't mean to put salt into the wounds. I apologize, but we will see what happens. Yeah,
I mean, we have to make a dare.
4-team battle if Ferrari get on their feet. But, yeah.
We'll see. I mean, we will have to see, and we have to make up a dare. If anyone else, bar Verstappen, wins the title, we're going to have to do something, and we'll have to figure out what it is for the next race.
And stay tuned to figure out what that will be, as it will be revealed on the next episode of the Final Straight F1 podcast.
Exactly. So tune in for the story of the Hungary Grand Prix, and we will see you there. And thank you for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.